Alright, what's good, fellas? So, the next typing that I have chosen for this Radical Red Hardcore's randomized Pokemon tier list is the Ghost type. And the Ghost type is, unlike most of the previous types that I've done, is actually very good. Um, so, let's get started. Annihilate is the first one according to the Pokedex, or, yeah, basically. And Annihilate is S tier. It's in the very usable tier. This thing not only answers tricky situations, but it is also just a straight up good Pokemon that can go above and beyond the battles that it does solve, like Kangaskhan, Slacking, stuff like this. You can also just straight up slot this in. It's bulky, it's got good attack, it's got decent speed. Doesn't have great speed, but it doesn't really matter. It has enough bulk to solve problems. Gengar I've already done in the poison type. Gengar is basically unusable. Mega Gengar will put in ability dependent just because it has enough speed to maybe be a lead for some situations. And then there is a Ghost Fire type, whatever it's called, Marowak. Marowak is physically pretty bulky. It's not especially frail either. It's extremely slow, but it doesn't really get. It's not usable in the in Sabrina, unfortunately, because it will get like basically one shot by the Iron Hands from a knockoff. Unless you're running a Colbur Berry, but if you're running a Colbur Berry on this thing, you're losing out on what is it like it's like 90 or 80 something extra attack stat. So ideally you want to run a thick club on this, so it basically doesn't have an item in exchange for having like 160 something base attack, which is pretty good, but I still think to use this thing pretty well, you're gonna want a decent ability on it. Although it is pretty similar to Skeledirge in a sense. Like it's the same typing. Skeledirge is fantastic, so why isn't this fantastic? Um, because it hits on the physical side. So most of the stuff Skeledirge answers really well is because Skeledirge answers. Oh no, no, this thing could deal with Blaziken for sure. This thing can definitely deal with Blaziken in for May on Cinnabar Island, the Mega Blaziken, because it has the ground move. So you can tank a Flare Blitz, and then you can probably tank a Thunder Punch, and then you can probably knock it out with one Boomerang from 160 something base attack. So yeah, this thing is probably, unfortunately it just doesn't answer, not that you would ever fight Bruno, but I don't think this answers the Zamazenta as well as Skeledirge does, and most of the other stuff that Skeledirge answers. Hisuian Typhlosion, I'll put an ability dependent. It just isn't as bulky. It just isn't as bulky to serve the same purpose as this thing or Skeledirge. Um, and it's not even that fast either. So it's just not very good. Like it's decent in the early game, but outside of that, it's very difficult to use that over if that's your only fire ghost type. Sevian Ursaring. Are we gonna do Miss Drevis? Probably not. Miss Drevis is not usable anyways. Sevian Ursaring, for the exact same reason as Annihilate, it is going into very usable. It's slightly less specially bulky, and it's way slower, but for the reasons that it's getting used, it's still like a great typing. a typing that's also hard to find, hard to replace, and it serves multiple purposes. Shedinja, unusable, garbage. Sableye is unusable, unfortunately. Fantastic typing. In fact, we'll put him above Gengar and unusable just because his typing is so good. So like if you needed him as like a sack mon for whatever reason to be immune to a psychic type attack and not resist and not be weak to a ghost type attack, but or not be weak to a fighting type attack, maybe he could get slotted in, get like a knockoff in or something, but he'd be going down. And then Mega Sableye is ability dependent. Mega Sableye I have used in the Mewtwo fight, and it's decent. It didn't even have a good ability. I just used it in there because I thought, oh, this thing should be able to deal with Mega Mewtwo. It doesn't suit very well, but with an ability, it probably could. With an ability that allows it to do so. Banette is like, I mean, we'll put it in ability dependent. Even though these are all ghost types and they all kind of in theory could have a purpose in at least one fight, I'm sort of doing it relative in the sense that like yeah sure if Shedinja could even be used as your only if that's your only answer into the very first Kamala that you fight, yeah Shedinja can actually be used there, but I'm sort of ignoring that one case in for the ghost type. um Mega Banette, I mean it is a it is a ghost normal type, which is pretty cool. But you get the stone super late, but let's say you cheat the stones in after Surge or whatever. Oh, I guess after Erica. Or no, before Sabrina. Maybe. Maybe this would be useful. It would certainly solve one of Morty's answers, which is the Dust Noir. Like a lot of ghost normal types solve that issue. Dusk. Oh no. Miss Magus, fairy ghost type. Pretty okay. But it's just frail as sin, and it doesn't actually have the special attack and the speed to compete for answers that the other one competes for, Fluttermane. Is Fluttermane on here? Wait. Oh yeah, Fluttermane's on. Yeah, so it is going to go down to the top of ability dependent, I suppose, ish. Yeah, that seems fair. 'Cause it's just without an ability that's worth using, it's too frail to, other than just generally get swapping into a ghost into a fighting type, and then trying to outspeed and click Moonblast. But Dusclops requires an Eviolite, which means you'll have to beat Misty, or not Misty, Whitney. And it is actually pretty usable. And it does get like Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, so I mean, it's usable, for sure usable. Just not into any knockoff mons, which most double battles do have knockoff, but with correct play, it certainly has uses, regardless of its ability. Dust Noir has less uses than Dusclops. Like you're probably, I don't know where the Reaper Cloth is. Oh, it's after Rocksmith. Yeah, so the Reaper Cloth is like late game. It it's not that good, but if it like it's just based on its stats alone, if it gets a good ability, it could be used, I suppose. Drift Blim, three immunities. Just I mean, just for that purpose, just usable throughout the early game. becomes less and less usable as the game goes on. But still, 3 immunities is pretty decently substantial. Spirit Tomb is basically just a better version of Sableye. However, its stats are not great. And unfortunately, this also can't really get used in Sabrina because it's super slow. And you would think like, oh, this could just click Snarl, couldn't it? Not really, because it's weak to Fairy. So you probably, yeah, you go first. You take, like, depending on what you're baiting from the Magearna, let's say you can safely swap this in after you deal with the camera up and the Tapu Fini. And then can this thing take a Moonblast from a Magearna? No. Can this thing even take a Water Spout from a Jellicent? Not really, no. And then you're getting like one Snarl off and it's going down. So it's not as usable as you would think. So we're going to drop it to ability dependent because it can get you just by its typing alone, it can get used for a lot of situations if it has a good enough ability to to get used. This thing is I'm not sure what type this is in Radical Red. I think it's just a pure ice type. It's wait, no, this isn't. Wait, no, this is not a ghost type. Sorry. Frostlass, ice ghost type. Stats are surprisingly not great. It's gonna go into in the class of ghost types. This thing's not very usable. It's not fast enough. Its physical attacks are like 80 something and 80 something. So I mean, it's too frail. It's too frail, and it's also an ice type, which doesn't help. Rotom is a ghost type, and it is unusable simply because of its stats. It's not bad. All the Rotom forms are not ghost types. Giratina. Yeah, Giratina is very usable. I would say even above these. Giratina is an excellent tank, excellent pivot, and it actually does damage in situations where you have to tank multiple moves and then win the battle of attrition in whatever fight. It can win a lot of fights through attrition. Um, yeah. And then Origin Giratina doesn't actually exist, but if it did exist, it's like less good than Giratina because it has like 20 extra attack and special attack in exchange for 20 less defense and special defense, and then it also might have more speed, technically, or I actually don't know how the stats are split, but it's just a less good version of Giratina, but it also doesn't exist, so we'll just take it out. It's impossible to get unless does the Gricious Orb exist in Radical Red? I don't think it does. But let's say you're playing with cheats, so we'll just rate it like as if you're gonna cheat in the item for this or whatever. Um, it's just decent. It's just not as good as the base Giratina because it's less bulky. Arceus Ghost again doesn't exist, but let's say you're like allowing it to exist in your playthrough. It's obviously freaking fantastic. Like it's probably still not as like despite having 720 base stats, it's probably still not as good as the fighting ghost types, but it's usable for sure. Cofagrigus is a ghost type. It is a basic ghost type, but it's usable. I mean, it has Will-O-Wisp. It does get Pain Split, and it is super physically bulky. Not, it's got decent special bulk, and it has decent special attack. Like this thing can win fights for sure, and it's dead slow, which doesn't really help its case. Yeah, because most double fights where like you can't bring this to Sabrina. I don't think. Yeah, Yeah, because you can't even Will-O-Wisp in Sabrina's fight because it's Misty terrain. Runerigus, Ghost. I mean, this thing just right off the bat, this thing has solves a lot of difficult problems, like one Regieleki against May, which is always like kind of a Pokemon where you're borderline forced to sack something if unless you bring a team of like mostly ghost types and one shed shell. Uh yeah, but you if you have the ability to swap this in, you swap this in and she will either miss her electric type attack or you're immune to the explosion. And you just hope yeah, it doesn't really matter if she swaps out. But chances are, because of the attacks you're running on this, in that fight, this thing's running like, let's say, Will-O-Wisp, a power like Shadow Claw, which I think it learns, or Shadow Punch, maybe. I'm not sure which one it learns. And let's say like Earthquake, Regieleki will likely click Explosion because it none of her Pokemon that she can swap in are taking those moves very well. Zoro Art Hisuian Zoro Arc is just a less good version of Mega Banette. It gets an item, sure, but it's so frail that like it can really only be used for the answers that it actually it's not even really ability dependent. The ability doesn't really matter on this thing. In fact, we'll move both of these just for the case that there are like 2 or 3 situations in the mid and late game where these do just straight up solve. They just solve the answer. So, because they only have like ghost and fighting and normal type attacks ish. So, yeah. So they are usable. They're just not, great. Jelly Scent is borderline unusable. This thing, like, without its base ability, it's unusable for sure. Uh, and it's even less usable, I would say, than like Sableye even. Just because like it just has middling stats across the board. And even if you do get a good ability on this, there's not enough situations that really. I mean, there's a few that require a ghost, a water ghost type, but it's mostly like this thing is like, okay, when do I get to click water spout on this? And when do I get to click water spout first? Not never. You never get to click water spout on this, and you will never get to click water spout first. Like maybe if you underlevel this in Sabrina, you can bring it and click water spout against the camera up. Possibly, but you have to have an iron ball on this thing, and it will be going down to a Misty Explosion. So I don't know if that classifies as being usable, but I don't think that does. Chandelure, we'll put it up here. We'll put it above Hisuian Typhlosion because it is like I think slightly faster, or its speed might be the exact same ish. It's like in the high 80s or something. It has better special attack, and I think it I don't know about bulk. They're similar in bulk. They're pretty frail. So they're difficult to use for sure. Golurk is straight up above. Honestly, he's going above base Ghost Arceus because this thing is just a better version of Runerigus. Like this thing handles the Iron Hands and Surge rematch. It handles a lot. It yeah yeah. This is a fantastic Pokemon in Radical Red, and its ability really doesn't matter unless it's a bad one. Yeah. Age Aegislash is basically unusable, but it is a cool typing in the sense that the typing is very usable. It's just that this thing has like what's its attack and special attack stat? It's like 50 50 attack and special attack, which is trash. Um and then there's the other one. This one doesn't exist, so I'm just not gonna rate it. I don't even I don't even think you like if you're playing randomized abilities and let's say you somehow I don't even think you can cheat this in, but let's say you cheated this in, I'm pretty sure after one battle it's just gonna revert to the defensive form anyways. So yeah, there's no point rating it. Trevenant learns some cool moves. I struggle to use this Pokemon, but Phantom's Curse or Forest Curse is like theoretically a useful move that you could use in like double battles or something. It's not like terribly unbulky. Like its bulk is fine. It's got good physical attack. Speed is ass, but I'm pretty sure there's a way that this thing could get used. I just haven't quite discovered it yet. But Force Curse is something that I never use. But like adding a third type onto a Pokemon could be interesting and certainly usable. So we'll put it in usable, but that's up to you guys if you feel like you can use this or not. Gorgeist is straight up usable next to Trevenant because it there's oddly situations where like a grass ghost type with it doesn't learn leech seed, I don't think. Nor is leech seed that good, but it gets will-o-wisp. Um and it might I don't think it gets sappy seed, but there's scenarios. There's a few battles where this thing actually surprisingly is usable. So yeah, Hoopa is also honestly at the top of usable. It's just like a special wall, and you just have to avoid ghost and dark type moves, and or just physical moves in general. But it's for sure usable. It solves a lot of things. Same with Hoopa Unbound. Hoopa Unbound, I forget where you get Hoopa Unbound from. I don't know if it's still. No, it's not still the dude in the power plant because that guy gives you the cornerstone mask for Ogre Pawn, and he gives you the Machampite. So I actually don't remember where you get the prison bottle from, but it's like towards the end of the mid game ish, and the chances of like doing the optional boss fights and in like a legit Nuzlocke are just never a good idea unless you really want the item and you have like a like be very confident in your answers to whatever said team, and like those that just never happens. But either way, let's say you do get it, it's obviously usable. um its stats are insane. You just have to avoid like physical moves, and then it's only weak to bug and 2 times weak to fairy. So bug is not the worst thing to be 4 times weak to in after like the mid like after the early game. Um so it's not bad. Yeah, so Decidui, Decadui, we'll put him above. The stats are slightly different in Radical Red. He has like more speed and more physical attack and less special attack and less bulk, which actually ends up being kind of nice for him. So he's certainly usable for a lot of situations. Oricorio, I mean it's a ghost flying type, right? So if if Driftblim is here, then why isn't Oricorio here? I guess, yeah. Oricorio, I just don't know how to get I don't know how to get this Oricorio. I don't know where the 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 nectar is for this form in Radical Red. I've never used this in Radical Red. But like I mean, it gets Revelation Dance, right? So I don't know. It's probably it's probably usable in the same sense that Driploom is. It's just not like I don't think you can get this in the early game, whereas Driploom you can. And then does it serve the same purpose? Well, I don't know. I don't know if you for sure cannot get access to this in the early game. I've you might this might show up in just the wild as an encounter, possibly. I don't know. And it has 3 immunities, so whatever. We'll put it there. Palisand, yep, he's going right up here next to not as good as Golurk, but he's physically more bulky, especially less bulky than Golurk. And he's certainly better than Runerigus. I don't know. I don't remember if this learns Will-O-Wisp. It probably does. But it's basically just a special version of Runerigus, which is still very usable. Mimikyu. Mimikyu, another Ghost Fairy typing. It's where did we put the other Ghost Fairy? Oh, we put it next to Miss Magius. So Mimikyu is not nearly as good as Miss Magius because I'm pretty sure it has even less speed and just less stats and like it doesn't get its ability. Yeah, this thing is just going way down. We'll put it like below Mega Sableye, I guess. Yeah, we'll put it below Mega Sableye. Sure. In fact, Banette will drop down to the top of unusable because Banette is only usable for the same reason that everything in unusable is usable. So because just being a ghost type is grants you usability in 1 or 2 situations in Radical Red. Delmise is a grass ghost, physically very strong, very slow. We'll put it right below Decidueye, I suppose. Yeah, the Delmise that you really want is the Sevian Delmise, which is the water grass type one. That one's fantastic. This one doesn't have as much utility as a water grass type. Solgaleo is not a ghost type. Lunala is a ghost type, and is it good? Yeah, I mean it's legendary, right? So its base stats are insane. If Hoopa is here, then yeah, then Lunala will be, above, probably just above Hoopa Unbound. The only issue is like Hoopa Unbound gets Sucker Punch, Lunala doesn't, so Lunala will be below Hoopa Unbound. Actually, does Hoopa Unbound get Sucker Punch? Yeah, for sure. I think it does. And then it's just more generally bulky as Hoopa, but it's less specially bulky. But that doesn't matter just as much. It's still fine. It still works in special situations that Hoopa works for. This I actually don't know the typing of this. I think it might be psychic. Yeah, it's a psychic ghost still. Yeah, it's a psychic ghost still. So you can't actually get this if you're playing Radical Red properly. But if you are just kind of doing a playthrough with cheats, this is possible to get. It actually has less speed than base Lunala in exchange for just more stats. So I don't really know as far as the battles that these would be used for if having 77 speed or 98 speed is a detriment. But I'm gonna go ahead and assume that having 98 speed and slightly less stats is better than 77 speed and having more stats. And also, I mean, this gets access to like Photon Geyser, but Photon Geyser isn't that useful of a move. Like 100 base power Psychic type move doesn't make something better. Marshadow is not as good. So it's faster. So it's a ghost fighting type. It's it's the fastest one of the three ghost fighting types. It's also the strongest. It hits the hardest of the three ghost fighting types, but it is the frailest. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter because it's not frail. It's just like average in bulk. But it's still more difficult to swap into something and then potentially have to tank like 2 moves after that over somebody like Annihilate and Ursaring. In fact, yeah, we'll put him behind Ursaring. But if you're playing with like setup, let's say, like you want to like do the move inject thing, yeah, this is an E4 mod for sure. You put Victory Dance on this. I mean, all three of these potentially could be E4 mods, but this one more so. So next we got Blacephalon. This thing is garbage. It's I don't even know. I actually don't know, but basing off its stats, it's weak, it's frail, it's got stupid high special attack, but it doesn't have any amount of speed to use that special attack. So like it's I mean, this thing is borderline unusable. Like for sure, yeah, it's unusable. Cool. Now we get to the cool Pokemon. So Sinistea or something? Sinistea? No, I don't know what this Pokemon's called, but it's just a base Ghost type, and that doesn't really like for the same reason as Banette. We'll put it down here with Banette. There's nothing that really it doesn't get Shell Smash, which is its whole purpose in like as a Pokemon, so it doesn't get access to Shell Smash in Hardcore, so it's not very good. Cursula is usable. In fact, I think Cursula is probably more usable than. We'll put it up here next to Cofagrigus. So Cursula is basically similar to Cofagrigus, but it answers special problems, whereas Cofagrigus more so answers physical problems with like Will-O-Wisp. This thing answers special problems, and then its special attack is insane as well. Its special attack is like 135, and it just blows something up after tanking 2 special attacks. So it's certainly usable. Dragapult, I mean, we will put him below Golurk. He's faster than he's just your standard like lead Pokemon. So what as a lead, like he either answers something or he can also be used as a pivot depending on the situation, but he resists a lot of good stuff. He's immune to 2 things. He resists like basically all the elements except for ice. And that's valuable as a Pokemon. And he's almost always going to outspeed. And he performs extremely well. It doesn't matter what his ability is, as long as it's not bad. Spectrier is surprisingly not that usable, but because of its stats, we will just go ahead and slot it at the top of ability dependent. Simply because its stats are insane. Yeah. And that's about it. But it's yeah. And then Calyrex Shadow Rider is a ghost psychic type similar to these, and I guess he's not gonna like getting swapped in though, as much as Hoopa and Lunala will enjoy getting swapped into an attack. So if he can't one-shot the enemy, then this thing is not usable at all. But yeah, I mean, he's wicked fast. He doesn't, unfortunately, I think he's actually less useful than the Shadow Calyrex Ice Rider, because at least Calyrex Ice Rider has way more bulk, despite being weak to way more stuff. But in the case of a frail Pokemon like this, it doesn't really matter if he's only weak to two types, four times weak to two types. He's still not taking neutral hits very well. So he has to be like a hard answer. And then the problem with being a hard answer after you take a hit is a lot of the times they just swap. They will just swap, and then you can very unlikely be able to swap him into another hit. Like, let's say you have a citrus berry on him, and then you swap him into another hit, they might very well switch again. And then he's just usable. You can't use him for the rest of the battle. But his base stats are 680, so we'll keep him like, I don't know, unusable for that reason. I'm sure you can obviously find uses for how broken this Pokemon is, and his attack is insane. However, I forgot to mention this. This Pokemon does not actually exist. So this Pokemon only exists if you are cheating it in. But it's an awesome Pokemon. Really, really cool. Okay, so I forgot what this Basculegion. We'll just rank them. I guess their stats are slightly different, but we'll just rank them the same. These are for sure usable. The physical one more so, because the stats are just spread a little bit better. He just has better stat spread, just more physical attack, more bulk. Whereas this one has just more special attack, but less bulk. Yeah, less bulk, less. This one just has more middling ground stats. It's not nearly as good. We'll put it like here next to like behind Choreo, or no, honestly, this one I don't I don't actually know if this one exists because I've never actually used this one. I've only ever used this one, and it's not split between male and female because I've had a female one of these ones. So I'm not sure how it's split, but this one is very usable. It is. We'll put it right behind Hoopa. In fact, as far as like hard use cases go, this one actually straight up might go into very usable. Just as like a bulky ghost water type that also hits hard and gets access to all the priority moves, which Jellicent does not, which is why Jellicent is down here. Jellicent gets no priority moves. This gets two priority moves. And like flip turn, although Jellicent, yeah, like it gets flip turn and it also has the physical attack to kind of use flip turn, unlike Jellicent. So yeah, it's gonna go up there for sure. Yeah, that seems fair. And then in which case, I mean, whatever. It doesn't really matter where I put this, but this is just a less good version of this, so I don't know where to put it. Skeledirge. Yeah, Skeledirge is going up here. Skeledirge is fantastic. Absolutely insane. He's bulky as sin, physically bulky as sin. He answers a lot of problems. And we'll put him up here above Golurk, probably. Yeah. Yeah, that seems fair. We'll put this above Arceus Ghost. I mean, he answers so much stuff that like the obvious ones that he answers is like Kartana, insane. He answers both Kartanas and Erica rematch. He answers like borderline. I mean, no, he doesn't answer. Like anything with like I don't know. It doesn't matter. He answers so much stuff. There's constantly situations where you will be like looking through your box and you're like, oh, Skeledirge is an excellent answer here. Yeah, it happens all the time. Next one is Armarouge. I mean, it's like it's not as usable as you would like it to be. Like it's just not as usable. Same with this one. This one is like cool. It's kind of like the reverse form of Skeledirge in the sense that This thing has more special bulk than Skeledirge does, and it has like recovery moves, which is kind of cool. But its recovery moves aren't until like the end of the mid game, and by the end of the mid game, this thing isn't getting used very often. And also for the Ghost Fire typing, as far as like what that typing is used for in Radical Red, you would prefer the physical Ghost Fire types over the specially bulky Ghost Fire types. So I just never really am happy with using this every time I get it and use it. And it's also like not fast. Like it's faster than Skeledirge, sure, but you're not using Skeledirge to be fast. This thing is like got that like 87 type speed stat where it's like that's too middle ground for me. It almost seems like wasted stats. You would almost prefer this to just have no speed and way more bulk. Brambleghast, I have genuinely never used this. Yeah, I've never used this once. It's like just a like a less statted version of these grass ghost types. However, like, does it? Actually, I'm gonna move Delmise above Decidueye because Delmise is more physically bulky. So, yeah, he's just he's just gonna do better than Decidueye. Brambleghast, I don't know what moves it learns. It probably, as a ghost type, it probably gets Will-O-Wisp, and I'm not even sure what its stats are, but I'm assuming they're probably similar to these two. And it is probably just a garbage attacker, and its whole gimmick is that you have to use its ability to make it usable, which in a randomized ability, the chances of that happening are pretty garbage. So we'll drop it down to ability dependent, like below these. I have no idea. Doesn't seem very good though. Same with Grievard, or no, Houndstone. Houndstone is kind of bulky, kind of also does nothing like well, like so in a sense. But he's bulky. His stats are okay enough where he can maybe get used with an ability over something like these two, Bennett and Sinistea, where even like with a good ability, they're not really getting used because they don't have enough bulk. Whereas Houndstone has enough bulk, where if he gets a correct ability, he can definitely get used. And then there's Fluttermane. Fluttermane's obviously going to the S tier. Just simply like its stats are insane, right? Like it answers a lot of special, like it answers almost every special encounter in the game. So I don't know what to tell you. It's busted. Yeah. In fact, it's probably going to go above like most things here. Like it just straight up hard answers a lot. It's not like, oh, you could kind of slot this in here and there. It's either this thing can obviously get used or obviously can't get used. It's like one of those types of Pokemons because of like the way its stats are spread. It's like you will outspeed and delete this as an answer, or this has a physical move. Nope, can't get used. And then there is Gimme Ghoul or Goldango. Sorry, Goldango is straight up just very usable, even without an ability. But like if you if you get an ability that gives this thing another immunity, it becomes like insane. Like especially if it gets like a ground immunity. Like if this thing has like levitate or something, it's insane. Yeah. We'll put it we'll put it no, we'll put it below. And it also gets recover, which doesn't matter as much as you would like because it's not the bulkiest Pokemon. It's mostly its typing allows it to like swap into a lot of things, take a hit, or take two hits, and then delete something with like preferably a steel type move. Like ghost type as an offensive answer is pretty rare in Radical Red. And then there's Sinistra, which I'm pretty Sinistra because it's like matcha, but it's also sinister. So Sinistra is just a far better version of its counterpart Sinistee and all of the grass ghost types here. So we'll put it in usable. And if you get a good ability on it, then it becomes like I've brought this thing to the Elite Four one time because it had fur coat, and it does really well. Now, did I beat it? No, absolutely not. The Elite Four in hardcore, I'm pretty sure, is genuinely impossible. Like like even if you were theorizing a team that could walk through the Elite Four with like minimal losses, I would be impressed if someone could even come up with that because I don't think there is a team that exists without setup. In which case, if you play with setup, the Elite Four is dead easy because it's not balanced around you as a player having setup. Uh, and then the last one is Pecharunt, which Pecharunt is very usable. Ghost Poison, and it has 160 base defense and then 80 across the board. It like as a physical pivot, excellent physical pivot, and then you can like do stuff like it gets Will-O-Wisp. I don't think it gets any hazards or anything. No, it doesn't get hazards or anything. So it's gonna be like a physical answer that just kind of wins through attrition type of thing. It might get pain split, but I don't know if it might get pain split, which could be useful because you swap it in, you tank a move, you tank another move, and then click plane split, and then start winning the attrition battle, which could be cool. And that's it. These are the poison type. This is where I'm rating all the ghost types. Sorry, not poison types. And at the top, as usual, we'll go through them. Giratina, not really much to talk about here. Both forms of Giratina are just fantastic. The bulkier form, I think, is slightly better. And then you've got your fighting ghost types, simply because they are fighting ghost types. And their stats are good. Like, they answer a whole lot. And then you got Skeledirge, because he answers a lot. Golurk answers a lot. And then you got Fluttermane, who actually I'm going to move up right behind the fighting ghost types, not because of its typing so much, just because of its stats. This Pokemon is just black or white, and it answers a lot. It answers a lot for sure. Then you got Golurk is good. Dragapult, fast lead, solves a lot of problems, and can also be used as a potential pivot. Not really so much, but it is possible. Ghost, physically bulky, strong ghost water type with priority, with both priorities, is fantastic. And then Arceus you don't really need to talk about it. It's got 720 base stats. Like if you really want to use an Arceus and make it ghost type, it can probably get used. I've never the only Arceus I've ever used is the normal type one and like whatever. And then we've got the Sand Castle. I forgot his name. I said it earlier, but it's good, right? It's a ground ghost type, so it's got 3 immunities and it's powerful. Same with Runerigus. Runerigus even actually probably both of these can beat the Iron Hands in Surge rematch. You Will-O-Wisp, you swap into something you're immune to. Will-O-Wisp, have a Yache Berry, tank a Yache Berry, or no, I guess you tank an Ice Punch, then Will-O-Wisp, and then start like doing whatever pain splitting, or if they learn that, I think they do. And then Goldango, it's a Goldango, it's strong, and then Pecharunt is just strong for some situation. In fact, Mm, yeah, that seems fair. And then you got these ones, which is crazy. Like, why are these 700 or 680 base stat total Pokemon in usable and not in very usable? Because Lunala, surprisingly, is not as usable as you would like throughout Radical Red, but it still is usable. It's just not. You're like this thing's not coming to over like 50% of the battles. Yeah, yeah. It's really not coming to over 50% of the fights in Radical Red, and if it is, you will probably lose it. Um, for sure. And then just these are they're usable Pokemon. Not so much Driftblim or Choreo, but in fact we'll drop these down to the bottom because past early game these are not getting used for their 3 immunities, despite their 3 immunities. Yeah, and then we've just got solid answers for certain situations. And then the ones that could get used with correct abilities down here, which kind of makes sense looking at these. I don't know about Brambleghast. Brambleghast could be trash. I don't really know enough about this, to be honest. Um, and yeah. And then these ones, which are clearly garbage. You're never going to use these. So that's it for the ghost types. Let me know how I did. If you guys think this is correct, or if you guys think I need to go back to my Game Boy Advance and start playing through it a few more times to really familiarize myself better. But I don't think I need to do that. I've got like over 500, like over 9,000 runs on Radical Red. All losses, by the way. Never won. Except if I've cheated, which doesn't really count. Um, so yeah, I'll see you guys on the next type. Go well. Peace.